Campbell's comments now, catching up with Peter Watkinson. Firstly, Pete, welcome.
Thanks, Paul. Really a pleasure to be here talking about the APG finals that are coming up over the next couple of weeks.
I was about to say, you wear a couple of hats. We better just, for some of the people off social media and the likes that may not be aware, you also are on the board at HRV, and I possibly should know your official role, but I can honestly say I don't. Your official HRV role?
Yeah, I'm just a director. I'm one of the directors on HRV, so I sit on the board and oversee the running of the industry in Victoria.
Yep, and you also your official role at APG?
Yeah, I'm the deputy chairman of APG. I took that role on last year with Robert Marshall being our chairman after Peter Burke retired after many years of great service to the industry.
Do you enjoy that role?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I think one of the great things of being involved in harness racing, and even yesterday with some issues I'm dealing with, it is a family, and people put your arm around you, and you really feel great. And before I got on the board, all I used to really need, and I've been in the game since 1972, so I've been around a long time. All I really needed to know was my trainer, my driver, my vet, my farrier, and a few other people. Was when you go on the board, you meet such wonderful people, across the whole industry. And, I was really keen to get to Charlton this week for the Darja Rung Cup, up there. But unfortunately, I couldn't make it, but I've committed I'll go again next year. And because, that's working with the Indigenous people, the First Nations up there, and seeing what Charlton's doing is just amazing. And some of the other clubs, you get to go there and the appreciation they show me that, I've gone to their meetings, and I go, I get more out of this than you probably get out of me, because, as I said, this is a wonderful industry with great people.
It is indeed, and we're here to promote the APG, but you must be pretty buoyant about how the direction that HRV, or harness racing, I suppose is a better way, is actually heading. Like, sales are up, racing's up. A lot of people seem very, very buoyant about it. You've got clubs like Cranbourne, and Charlton, and the likes, trying to do different things. Shepparton on Sunday, it's pacing in pink, and it's been pretty much run by the participants that have done it with the backing of HRV, but it's the participants that are driving a lot of these things. There's a lot of good feeling, I suppose, in harness racing at the minute.
I agree, and I think COVID actually worked to our advantage in some ways, because with HRV, especially through Dale Brown and his team, it really brought the industry together through some workshops and groupings. And I must admit, I feel really privileged to be on the board and also look at the way we're going forward. But you talk about the McGrath Foundation, the pink. You've got Duncan McPherson runs is largely responsible with Michael Taranto about the ovarian cancer, the teal. A couple of years ago, I had a mate that had prostate issues, and we run the prostate one now with the Prostate Foundation here in Victoria, and hopefully that will go. It was supposed to go national last year, but it will hopefully go national this year. And again, it's not so much the money that they raise, we raise. It's more about the awareness of these things to the ladies, to the men, and so on. And it really, I think it's a bit of social license for us to show that we're not just into gambling. We're into community issues and providing that support, especially when you look at our industry being an ageing industry and a country industry, more regional than anything else. I think it shows that great support out there for the people.
I think what we've been able to do, as you said, with Duncan McPherson, with Team Teal, and there's a lot of driving factors in that, but the key component of it is harness racing. And being able to grow the awareness for a lot of people, down to my daughter who's 14, she actually understands what Team Teal is about. The McGrath Foundation, we all know what the McGrath Foundation is about, but being able to get days like this, and this Pink Pants that they've kicked off this year, when you get blokes like Chrissy Voke and those guys want to get involved and all the rest, you can see it going nationally. And I totally agree. I get a lot of people give me feedback about prostate and men's awareness, I suppose, and the likes. Why don't we do something along those lines? I think we've probably got to be a little bit careful we don't do something every month that people say, oh, they're just doing this and the likes, but it is definitely an area that we can grow going forward, and it is going to grow. But like a lot of these things, I think the McGrath one's been going for 10 years. They don't happen overnight. They build, and you've just got to slowly work your way around them. So I think well done to everyone, and I know there's some announcements I've been privileged enough to see a few of them, not far off coming out, and they're all good for harness racing. So it's in a pretty good position at the minute.
Well, I agree, and as I said, I think people are really working together now. And you're talking about the breeding. I think some of the incentives that HRV have done has helped APG, and also the nutrient sale by the new $12,000 bonus, first bonus. Limiting the stallions to 150 services has brought some really good Australian stallions. I talked to Ian Slater from Good Time Lodge. He said he had one of his best years this year for servicing of his stallions, and and hopefully that helps both APG going forward. We'll have more horses to sell going forward. You were also right there, Paul, when you said about the sales. Like, we had over 90% clearance rates on our sales across all of Australia. That means that purchasers bought what they thought was a good price, and the vendors got their market.
Yeah, that's exactly the prices were set, the people bought, and everyone's happy. And you say everyone's happy. Any sale of anything, even a car sale, not everyone's happy, but vast majority of the people are buoyant about the results that they were able to get, and go from there. We're here to promote what the APG are doing, and the likes. Last year, unfortunately, with COVID, it just didn't happen, and the likes may have been a little bit of a blessing, and probably a combination with that is also that the change of season, and changing the racing season. And I was just doing the form. I'm working Kilmore tonight with Keema Frenning. Anyone that's watching this, tune in to Trots Vision. Myself and Keema will be trackside, and looking forward to the last 3 races especially. But I was fortunate enough to be at Bendigo. But I was just going through the fields, and I'm thinking, if this was a normal year, you wonder how many of these horses, like your Nuratak Princes, Act Nows, Seb's Choice, these sort of horses, you wonder how many of these horses would actually be up and going now, knowing that normally they would have the Vic bred, the Breeders' Crown, all towards the back end of the season, whereas this way they can be up now, fully wound up, have a break, and then come back later on at the end of the season as well. So before we go on to the APG, I think it's a master stroke from Harness Racing Victoria to change this season up a little bit.
I agree, because what you're saying is right, because you can get your horse up early, and if it doesn't get up early, you haven't wasted the season for too long, because as you said, you can back it off the Vic Bred Series and the Breeders' Crown at the end of the year. So look, COVID, from an APG point of view, look, we just couldn't run the races last year, because it would have been unfair for people who have sustained horses that couldn't bring them to Victoria to race. So to be fair to all people that support APG, we decided no, we'll postpone it until now.
It's amazing what 12 months is. This time 12 months ago, I was starting to do some of these because we're in lockdown. No one could get out and about to see people. You do actually forget a little bit. Like we're lucky in Australia that it's almost back to normality. But 12 months ago we were in, I think we're still in hard lockdown actually at this stage. So we were just doing regional racing, and you weren't allowed to travel. Basically I was based in Bendigo. You couldn't move from Bendigo.
That's right. And look, again, I think that was a real credit to Dale Brown and his team. And I think the board should take some credit too. Is that the regionalisation of racing actually gave opportunities to people that probably didn't have opportunities before to win races with horses. But it actually, I think we lost a total of 3 meetings.
Yep.
And you look over what has happened around the world, that's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think also, like with Trots Vision, like HRV's got a real big aims for Trots Vision going forward. Because Trots Vision, I hear so many people just say, I only watch Trots Vision, I don't watch Sky anymore. And I'm one of them, because I actually see how it's developing, and it's really, it's becoming a really slick show.
And there's a lot of people behind the scenes really trying to drive it in a good way, like trying to grow it all the time. There's a lot of things nearly going to happen, and you just got to temper those a little bit. But also, we say that the input of Channel 7 and the likes as well. I think because Trots Vision was there, that then meant people saw it and they said, hey, this could actually work. Through lockdown, they were able to view it, the Ride Highs and those horses and Lochinvar Arts racing through that time. People said, hang on, this is a product we can actually promote to get onto Channel 7, and the New Year's Eve coverage was just phenomenal and going there.
I agree. And just on that point, like you look at Tough Tilly, that story of the young girl that the horse is named after, the Ben Stud and Craig Judd were involved in.
Tilly Wilkes.
Yeah, Tilly Wilkes, that's right. And Tough Tilly gets up and wins the big race, the Breeders' Crown. From a harness racing point of view, we couldn't have asked for better coverage.
Yeah. And to highlight that, if we didn't have that coverage, I saw Corey and Craig, I did an interview with them, and it was the New South Wales Oaks was the first time they were actually able to get together and watch her as a group on a racetrack. Outside, they did Zoom meetings. They had a ball. They grew their product, but they weren't able to actually physically get to a track as well. And I think that's hats off to like a lot of Trot's Vision and Sky Channel and a lot of people getting behind the scenes and getting behind such a great cause as well. And I encourage anyone to go onto ebresearch.com and type that in and follow the links and just watch it and donate. And I know Corey and the guys will be happy with that. They'll be more happy if she wins tonight, but we won't. We'll get to her in a sec. We've got plenty of money on offer, plenty of prize money on offer next Saturday night, Pete. What'd you say? There was 4 Group 1s and 2 Group 2s going to be.
It's about $1.1 million of money on offer next week.
Which are for the 3-year-old boys and the 3-year-old girls.
Yep.
And the 2-year-old boys, 2-year-old girls, and then the 2 consolations for the fillies and colts for the 3-year-old division. And you said that there will be a 2-year-old consolation potentially at some stage.
Yeah, and also what I think over a 6-week period, we were investing $2.25 million into the industry. So we had expensive Ego, which was a $27,000 purchase there when the 4-year-old a couple of weeks ago, and it just shows that if you buy a horse through APG, you don't have to spend a lot of money to get a really great horse.
No, I think that's definitely through APG, through harness racing. I think if you actually look at the prices, you sit back and look at some of these galloping sales just recently, you should be involved in harness racing because you have twice as much fun, 3 times as much fun because they race 3 times.
That's right.
And race for an enormous money. And the 4-year-old APG was at the start of the month, am I right in saying that?
Yes, I think it was the 4th of May or thereabouts. So it's the start of the month. So it's really been this is a month of basically APG races. And we had I think it was the 4th of May, we had races in Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria. And I'm not sure about Western Australia. We might have even had them in Western Australia on the same night. So it was a real fill up of APG across the nation. And
it's a real push. Last night at Ballarat, Tim O'Connell was working there on Trot's Vision, done a great job with Dan Malecki. The 2-year-olds, and you play in their backyard, but I mean they're preeminent stable. I suppose they're the number 1 stable in Australia at the minute, especially with their 2-year-olds, Emma Stewart, and they really come to the fore. I think they won just about every heat. I could be wrong. And some real blue bloods of harness racing, some real beautiful mares. I'm big on mares and mares winning races, and when you have horses like Trebler and the likes winning, having progeny win, that's key, isn't it?
Absolutely. And look, congratulations to Emma and Clayton. They've put a lot of time and effort into it, and some of their backers, Tommy Hogan and John Anderson and Fred Cruz and Tim Bunning. They heavily invest in the industry, and of course, we all look for that dream win. But it's great to see those guys who heavily invest, regularly in APG sales that get results.
It was one race where they had a lot of owners who I hadn't heard of before. I'm just trying to actually find. No, I might be wrong. It might have been. I might be lying there. Oh no, it's the first race. Yeah, it was. It was. The horse by Trebler. I mean, great syndicates and all the rest, and a lot of new blood, which is what we want, and it's key to go there. The odd man out group is a strange one, I must say, but Freddie Cruz and the crew were involved in that, and it was a sensational victory there in that race. We say about Blue Bloods, race number 3, Some Beach Somewhere, Aston Villa, Full Bravo to Poster Boy, and the likes. Like we put back our HRV hats on, and Stallions and Poster Boy standing at Kath McIntosh's Northern Rivers gets a new gold incentive, or the $12,000 if you breed to Poster Boy, and the bloodlines are there because you can clearly see it with Beach Villa coming through too. He just franks Frank's that form. You got Yankee Rockstar standing at stud, Poster Boy, and now you've got a colt like this. You could go to a full brother to him at stud, and in a couple of years you might be winning the APG as well.
Absolutely. So, this will be the last of the national finals because we've gone to state-based races like the 2-year-olds is what we call the gold bullion, because the feedback we were getting was that people would like to not so much travel their horses. If you had the nationals in Victoria, New South Wales have to come down and vice versa. Whereas if you have the state-based ones, it gives an opportunity in the state to win. But you can only win one state final. You couldn't win the New South Wales and then bring it down to Victoria. So in some ways it spreads the money around a bit more and gives them more options for other people to win great races.
Yeah, definitely. And as I said, they won with Penta. Some of these people got to think of these names. If I have to pronounce them, they've got to look after me. But Pentalane, I think it is
I agree.
Out of Art de Triomphe, who is I think full brother to, I forgot his name now. But anyway, he's a stallion as well. Oh, I'll have to cheat, Pete, and go into him. I've just totally lost his name just at the minute. But
I know, I've lost it as well.
I've got it. Don't you worry about that. It's the which Follow the Stars. I got it. It's a half brother to Follow the Stars. Steph's Best and the like. So it's a beautiful family. So breeding does come through. There's no worries there. But and as I said, the last race I think as well was another beautifully bred filly that they had going around by Captain Treacherous, out of our Petite Sueur. So really, really nice bred horses. They will make their way to the finals next week. At Melton. Those draws will be done, I think, on Tuesday. Is there a big draw, or is it just going to be a standard draw going?
I think we are just a standard draw for that, but we've proposed a really big night for the 29th, the finals. I've negotiated with the hero through Tanya that we're going to have Billy Gem on site, and he'll, and I spoke to Dan Malecki and Robbie Orver about this, he'll actually lead the finalists for the 3-year-olds and the 2-year-olds onto the track. He'll stand in front of the Rothacker stand where they'll all file past him, because he's a graduate of APG, of course.
Yep.
They'll file past him and then do their warm-ups, and Dan and Rob will introduce each of the horses that their filly Jim will be wearing APG silks, and hopefully from next week on, APG will be the ambassador, our ambassador going forward. So the APG board's just considering this at the moment, but I'm pretty confident that going forward, that wherever he goes, he'll be an APG horse with APG rugs, and when he goes to schools or farms or wherever, he'll be our ambassador going forward.
It was a beautiful horse. I was lucky enough to do his teeth through his racing career when David and Lisa Miles were training him, and they were a partnership at that stage. But then the worst part of that is I also had a couple of horses the same age, and you had to chase him, and he was a shocking horse to be chasing because he was quite a lovely horse as well. Tonight at Kilmore, we've got the second round of heats is how it goes. Yep. 3-year-old fillies. Effectively, it's basically every one of the fillies that went around at Bendigo could have made this final here tonight at Kilmore, just through the numbers. But it's thrown up a ripping race here tonight at Kilmore, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Look, the colts and it seems to vary from year to year. Some years the fillies are very strong and you get full of fields of fillies and less of colts. This year, we've got a lot of colts and more heats. But the fillies numbers were down. But as you say, it's a cracking field for the second round. And of course, we've got Joanna in there and Tough Tilly and so on. Unfortunately, Ladies in Red isn't there, which would have continued on that cracking challenge between those two horses.
Absolutely, but don't worry about that. Like I was there trackside at Bendigo the other night, and Joanna, like she would have competed with the boys. Tough Tilly was awesome. She ran across the line hard, well, not hard held, but not extended by any stretch of imagination. But Joanna was terrific. But there's a little sneaky one there at $16, Soho Broadway, that gets the draw advantage on both those fillies tonight. Sat outside Joanna and did not shirk the issue at all. She's definitely a little bit green, but I think that's the diversity you do get once you get into those older horses. I mean, I've said it there before that Emma and Clayton are definitely the number one 2-year-old trainers in the state at the minute. But people like Mick Stanley and the crew, and there's a couple others with the boys coming through that they really can put a polish on some of these 3-year-olds and looking for the future, which makes it a lot more exciting because, as you say, Tough Tilly on paper looks like she goes to the front and just wins, but I don't know if it's as simple as that for mine.
Yeah. I hope she does go to a win because I've got my horse Sahara Storm in and drawn gate 1, and I'd love to sit on the back of Tough Tilly. I don't think we're class enough to beat her, but something like, I know Sahara Storms can sit on the pace, and it might be just enough to drag us into a final. And you make a final of Group 1, you can go spruiking it and feel real good for yourself. And even if you run last, I think you get 10 grand, which is equivalent to 3 country fronts.
We need as many people as we can to take a leaf out of Lyndall Conroy and Glenn Conroy's book, because they just love making a Group 1 with Fear Not, and I think it's key. I actually agree. I think we've got all our signs up on the wall. When you get a sign, you put it up on the wall, and you should be very, very proud. And I got no doubt that every person in that race there is not going there to run second. They probably say, look, it'd be nice if we did run second, but they're going there hoping to win, that's for sure.
Oh,
but
we have to do a Bradbury.
There is a lot of really quality fillies. Like, we haven't mentioned a filly like Moments Like These, which congratulations to Alabar as well, because they got behind with those Alabar syndicates, and she's been a real flagship for them, and a filly on the future too that you're going to be able to hang your hat on as well from an industry point of view, with a new group of owners in, and done a great job. And she was a real eye catcher the other night behind Tough Tilly, chased really, really hard. So it will be an interesting race, the fillies race. The boys, well, barrier draws have really spiced both these races up, I reckon, Pete. You've got 2 horses drawn 1 in both of the boys' races that could possibly just lead and win, but if either of them got crossed out of the mobile, it is then game on. Like this first race, you've got a horse like Seb's Choice. I've watched the replay 3 or 4 times today. They went 26-8 that first quarter. He came off the second line, and I reckon he could have nearly led them at one stage going into that first turn, and then to be able to sit in the death and win like he did. It's not a foregone conclusion that Soho Bollinger just leads and Seb's Choice sits outside of him and runs second, because he was terrific the other day, Seb's Choice.
I agree, and one thing that gives me a bit of joy that saying there, Sahara Storm actually beat in his. They both had the second start at Cranbourne, and Sahara Storm actually beat him 12 months ago. So but he's kicked on, and we've kicked on as well. But he is certainly a strong contender tonight.
Yeah, he is indeed. And you've got horses like Act Now that was sensational in his return, but gets a tricky draw here tonight. And even like from your APG point of view, a little horse called Bide Our Time for Scotty Stewart. I don't know if you got to see his run the other day. He ran third. They went 153 in that race. And I'm not saying he can win tonight or be an upset, but just to see a horse like him, I think, two duck eggs, returned from a spell, had a soft win at Shepparton, but then jumped out of the ground in the first round of heats at Bendigo, and a real eye catcher. And that's what you want. I mean, you want those sort of horses that come from a little bit of obscurity and show that they are the real deal.
That's what the dream's all about.
Yeah,
and that's what we say at APG. It's creating that dream for you.
I saw Scotty's brother, and I think it might have been another of his brothers, but he definitely was. And we say about making a group final, they were just pumped to run third to those 2 horses the other night. They were absolutely over the moon with that. So yeah,
I agree. Like when you make Group 1 finals, you're playing in the top league, and your horses, it deserves to be there, and you should be very proud about it.
Absolutely. I just noticed there is actually a scratching in this, which means Better Isolate actually gets a start in the last race. And this is another race, and I actually marked down about 3 of these horses that probably can't win, probably can't even run a place tonight unless things go awry. But Astaire, Master Remy, and then actually Pantaloon, who's now scratched. Real, again, a little bit like I said there before about Bide Our Time, eye-catching runs in the heats, chasing home some really nice colts in really fast times too.
I agree. That's the thing now, like, with our breeds, I was only talking at a function yesterday, when I first started, I had a winner ran at Moonee Valley. I think she went 207. Right. Now, if you can't have a 2-year-old that goes under 157, our classes of our horses, obviously our training, our breeding, and and someone has just come to the fore where we just have really class horses now.
Yeah, and this last race, and I'm sure you're wrapped for Bruce Edwards because he's got two real live chances, and he's been a strong stalwart for APG, and he put his full draft through you guys this year. But with New Attack Prince and also Act Now in the previous race, he's got a very strong hand, and it was great to see him on track at Bendigo the other night. It was cold, it was a bit fresh. He hung around to the last, and it was great to see him there. And he gets a real buzz out of these races, but he's got two terrific colts in.
Absolutely. Oh, look, Bruce has been a tremendous advocate for APG and a supporter, and and I think it's one of the things through APG. We're having a big workshop next week to look at how we can actually provide more incentives for people to sell their horses through us. With any new business coming on board, it makes you sharpen your pencil. And I think you'll see some really exciting changes at APG over the next. Into the next sales season, especially when we brought on people like Kathleen Harris over at Western Australia and Linda Graham up in Queensland, sales managers. They'll be becoming more of the front of the organisation going forward. And and I think looking at the nutrient sale, there was a lot we could learn off them as well. And so I think we're certainly going to be improving our performance, and as I said, our sales were just sensational. When you get 98% sales rating in Melbourne, it really just shows, you got the horses out there, and hopefully they all become very good horses for the new owners.
I wear many hats, Pete, which I'm sure you and a lot of people are well and truly aware of. I just find the sales this year, like I'm a sales junkie, I've said it, I haven't bought a horse. I don't think the last horse I bought may have been 12 years ago, might even been longer than that. I haven't missed too many of them. Just the way people are talking about how the sales are working, and I was recently in New Zealand, and there's a lot of upbeat about how it's working and how we market it and how we sell it, and I think it's great. And and I think like for you guys, these heats, they were missed last year, but it's a real eye opener now. And again, back to HRV, I think it works beautifully. Instead of trying to cram it in. Springtime, I think it works beautifully right at the minute because you've got them all up and about and ready to race, and got terrific fields. Like I said, this last race very quickly, New Attack Prince. You've got a horse like Bondi Lockdown, who's just an absolute machine for Steve Blacker and Aaron Dunn, doing a great job. Just keeps working home. He should be $1.80. And unfortunately, he strikes a horse like New Attack Prince. Then you got a horse called LB2 Chains that went and won the Tassie Derby, and he's quoted here at $9. I mean, the depth of these races is sensational.
Yeah, well, Bondi Lockdown, his half brother, I think his half brother went through the APG sales this year.
Yep. Yeah, so he's a lovely, lovely horse. I feel sorry for him. He just seems to get tricky draws and the likes, but he's super tough and keeps backing up. I think good luck to everyone tonight at Kilmore. As I said, myself and Kimo will be trackside. We'll be catching up with a lot of the interviews. Cody sent me a message just there before that I couldn't read on the run, but we might be doing a couple of other things tonight as well, just promoting the horses and what is going on. But thanks for joining me, Pete. I really appreciate it. I know you've got a little bit on as well personally, so I appreciate the time, but look forward to it, and look forward to next Saturday night. Put a line through whatever you're doing. Put your footy on your phone, put Trots Vision up on the big screen, sit back and enjoy a great night of Group 1 racing, 4 Group 1s, 2 Group 2s, and some real quality livestock going to be front and centre at Melton, which is just terrific.
Absolutely. No, I really appreciate your time, Paul, and promoting APG. And as I said, we'll have one of the older statesmen in Village Gym there, leading out the new up-and-coming stars, which I think, again, with APG shows that, we care about our horses.
Probably should say that too. One thing I think people should be aware of, especially at Melton, you can hear Dan and Rob talking most of the time. Don't be scared to throw your phone on and have your phone on the Trots Vision while you're at the meeting. I mean, if you go there and you're not really au fait with the harness racing, sit out on the grass, on the chairs, put your Trots Vision on, listen to some experts, what they've got to say, and watch the horses in the flesh. You get the best of both worlds, don't you?
Absolutely, mate. And as you're saying, look, the 2 and 3 year olds coming through are going to be our next, Lochinvar Arts and Ride Highs and so on. So you've seen the up and comers next week.
Good form too when we come out of winter, isn't it? For the Vic Bred, the Breeders' Crowns, and all those good races. Good little form with some of these colts, I must say. Pete, thank you very much.
Thank you.